Hey, welcome back. Chapter 9 today is called A Real Nightmare. Now, if you remember chapter 8, him and his dad had just played with one of his dad's favorite toys that he's had since a little boy called Johnny Astro. And his dad said, "When you get bigger, I'll give it to you." And Alvin is very excited about this. Okay, so chapter 9, A Real Nightmare. My dad is really good at taking care of his things. Maybe that's one of the rules of being a gentleman. But I don't really know. I can't remember. Take care of your things, my dad likes to say, and your things will take care of you. He takes care of his car, Louise. For example, that she will probably run for third gen geological age, although she has already had one transmission in the junkyard, which my mom says this is the car equivalent to having one foot in the grave. My dad also takes good care of our house and our yard. He can use a hammer, he can climb a ladder, he can climb down too, usually. And he owns a power drill in a box. He takes really good care of his children too. Just look at us a couple of weeks ago, scratching ourselves to death, and we are practically normal again and on our way back to school. So when my dad wasn't playing with his Johnny Astro, he kept it in his box and set the box on the top shelf of the highest bookcase for safekeeping. The Johnny Astro was sure amazing, even sitting in his box. I headed into the living room to look at it one last time before going to school. Johnny Astro made me very popular. My dad's voice replayed itself in my ears. Everyone wanted to play with me. Johnny Astro, I read across the box for the millionth time. Really flies, no wires, no connections. Fly your own spacecraft anywhere. I stared, unblinking. I shifted my PDK under my arm. I swallowed. "Alvin," my mom yelled from the kitchen. "Hurry, honey, your bus is almost here." "Coming, Mom," I yelled back. But first, all I needed was a stool and to stretch until I could reach it. Johnny Astro was the perfect show and tell. "Someday," my dad, slow whisper filled my ears, "this will be yours." Someday, I had no idea that day would be today. "Thanks, Dad," I whispered. "You're the best." I even remembered my manners. Then I slid the box into a large shopping bag and slipped out of the door. "What's that?" Pinky asked as soon as I got on the bus. I gasped. I could hardly believe it. I was already flickering on Pinky's radar. "Johnny Astro," I said. "What's Johnny Astro?" "The greatest toy ever made," I said. "Never heard of it," said Pinky. "What does it do?" "I'll show you at Show and Tell." "But you don't show and tell," said Hobson. "I do too," I protested. "You show, but you never tell," said Sam. Sam was right. I never tell. But I was fabulous at show. I knew how to pick 'em. If something tells a story, as long as you can reach it, and it is something I can carry without using a wheelbarrow, it is probably perfect. I've brought all sorts of treasures. My dad's fantastic reading glasses, my mom's pearl necklace that she looks so good in, and Calvin's baseball collection. And now Johnny Astro. If this is the greatest toy ever made, you should show and tell it now, said Pinky, before we get to school, or we will never know what you want to say. It made perfect sense. I could hardly wait. Anyway, I pulled the box out of the bag. The gang read the box. All jaws dropped open. All tongues fell out. "That's just a box," I said. "Wait till you see it in action." I fingered the edge of the cover. "Open it," Sam pleaded. "Open it," pleaded. I held my breath. I wanted to open it. I wanted to show the gang the most fabulous toy ever made. I couldn't wait. Whoosh! I lifted the cover. The old smell of fun and excitement filled our noses. Then, whoosh, the bus rounded a corner and we rounded in our seats. And when we all sat back up, Johnny Astro didn't look the same. There were a few pieces missing. They were not in the box. Quick picture. Uh-oh, he's in trouble, isn't he? They're not in the bag or on the aisle or under the seats. They were nowhere to be seen. I was not even sure which pieces were missing, but there were a few empty spaces in the plastic package where there should have been parts. Oh no, I cried. My dad's going to kill me. The noise on the bus went round and round. It was so loud that my voice got lost. No one turned around. Even the driver's eyes, which usually lifted into the mirror wherever there is an extraordinary outburst, did not shift. I swallowed. I blinked. I did the best not to cry. The wheels on the bus went round and round, and I bounced up and down. And then a tear rolled down my cheek, then another, and then another. And before I knew it, I was crying full blast, crying. It is really great. Everything is better afterwards, except when the next stop is school. And when you walk into class and you find your substitute teacher, Alvin Ho called the sub. She was taking attendance, and which is where most of my troubles usually begin with subs. I opened my PDK. I needed an escape route. Alvin, the sub called again. Here, answered Flea. Are you Alvin Ho? Asked the sub. No, ma'am, I'm Flea, said Flea. That's Alvin. She pointed at me. The sub looked at Flea and then looked at me and over the top of her glasses. He can answer for himself, she said. Oh, no, he can't, said Flea. Why not? He just can't. He's Alvin Ho. The sub eyebrows arched like two unconnected bridges. I will have no funny business in my classroom today. Is that clear? Said the sub. Flea nodded. Then her lips turned in, which meant she had more to say. Alvin talks normally at home, Flea continued, but at school he only talks with his eyes. Oh, just watch his eyes, said Flea. I rolled my eyes on purpose. Okay, sorry. I rolled my eyes not on purpose. They just rolled on their own like a couple of loose pearls. From my mom's necklace the time I borrowed it for show and tell. Oops, said Flea. Is this a joke? Asked the sub. No, ma'am, Flea shook her head. The sub looked puzzled. No one mentioned a special needs student. Alvin's not special, Flea explained matter-of-factly. He just doesn't speak in school. The sub fixed her gaze on Flea, then she locked her gaze on me. It meant that I needed to be on my best behavior. Fortunately, I've had lots of practice in good behavior. I knew what to do. I kept my eyes low. I kept my hands in plain sight. I stayed in my seat. Then show and tell began. Jules showed a pock scab. Ah, that's nothing, said Eli. And then Eli showed. It was redder than Jules, but it wasn't redder than Hobson's, which was crimson, and that was nothing compared to Esha's, which was practically still oozing. Then everyone began raising their shirts and lowering their pants to see who had the biggest and ugliest scab. It was fabulous. Then the substitute said that was enough for the scabs, but some of us have taken off so much of our clothing by then that it took a while for us to get it all back on. Then the dreaded moment came. Alvin said to the sub, do you have something for show and tell? I froze. I avoided eye contact. I held my breath, I sucked in my gut, and I clutched my PDK. His show and tell met a misfortune on the bus this morning, said Flea helpfully. So it can't be shown. Misfortune, said the sub, and she gave me a stare that said that I wasn't yet finished with my misfortune. So slowly I pulled out the box. Johnny Astro, gasped the sub. I had one of these. This is the best toy in the world. It really flies. You can fire her up, send it into orbit, and bring it down again. It's absolutely spectacular. The class was silent. No one moved. No one breathed. The sub got quiet. She wiped her eyes. Nothing else like it was ever made, she sighed. And then she smiled at me. I smiled back just a little. Maybe it is even a gentleman's rule to smile back when a lady smiles at you, but I don't really know. I can't remember. For a sub, I guess she was okay. As for show and tell, it was the best thing I had ever brought in. Everyone wanted to play with me at recess. We'll get it up in the air in no time, said Pinky, carrying the box to the playground. I'll hold it while you fix it. Then we lifted off the cover. The missing pieces were back, but they were wrecked. I found them in the back of the bus, said Flea, and I put them back in there for you. Don't worry, said Eli. Though whose father fixes cars? I can fix anything. My dad will show me how. Whoa, sorry. My dad showed me how. I can do origami, said Sam. I'll make you a new balloon. Here are some band-aids, said Eli, peeling a dirty one off of his elbow. Ooh. I've got some spray paint at home if you want to come over after school, said Nia. I opened my PDK. There are instructions for surviving practically every disaster except for a Johnny Astro disastro. That's the problem with PDKs. You never know what you're missing until you are missing it. Alvin said, Flea, putting a hand on my shoulder. People will think you were careless, but you really weren't. It was an accident, said Nia. Yeah, an accident, echoed Eli. It's a good thing that it wasn't your dad's. My heart sank like a dead battery. And I don't think I really need to tell you what happened next. Poor Alvin. Just don't take things like that, do you? Okay, hope you enjoyed. Make sure you answer the questions. Bye-bye.